On the Business Courier front page centerpiece this week, a local company looks to join rarefied air after becoming Cincinnati's first IPO in over a year. AdvancePierre Foods went public just a few short weeks ago, and to much fanfare, it was the 5th biggest IPO of the year in a tough market. But if you ask CEO John Simons, that's in the past. He's already looking ahead. He wants to triple sales over the next 5 years, and the IPO has given the company the cash to get to work on fulfilling that dream. And that could be a big boon for the Blue Ash community. For starters, it could lead to jobs. It could also make AdvancePierre a significant corporate donor and a major influencer on the local economy. Getting to this place was not an easy road for one of the nation's biggest makers of prepared sandwiches. Business Courier reporter Steve Watkins follows the company and wrote the centerpiece story on the public offering. He joins Business Watch producer Kelly Leon in the studio with more.
Thanks. And Steve, thanks for being here this morning.
Sure, glad to do it.
So how does AdvancePierre expect to grow so much?
Well, by raising all this money, they've got some firepower behind them. They raised $219 million. That's on a net basis. They actually sold $450 million worth of stock in the offering, but some of their shareholders, including a private equity firm, kept some of that. But they've got all this money, and they plan to triple their sales. So what they're going to do is acquire other companies, mostly. They've got extra cash to do that, and they have identified 65 different companies by name that are in their industry. They make sandwiches, they make frozen items, all these different things. A lot of them are mom and pop companies, although they said most of them are between 50 and 250 million in sales. So they're not tiny, but they're nowhere near as big as AdvancePierre's 1.6 billion. And they've done a good job taking care of their employees, innovating, so they think a lot of these companies will be willing to join up with them, sell to them, and they can get big in a hurry if they triple their sales. That's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, that is. And you say in your story that, in the print edition, that this was not a smooth path. They had a bumpy ride. Talk a little bit about that and then how they overcame those obstacles.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing was, I mean, this company started in 1946 in Cincinnati. It was called Pierre Foods. People might know of that name, and then it became AdvancePierre. But in 2008, when they were still Pierre, they went bankrupt. And they had some problems with cash flow, a few other things with the industry, and they ran up a lot of debt doing an acquisition before that. Oaktree, which is a Los Angeles private equity firm, bought all their bonds very cheaply, got them out of bankruptcy, and brought in new management and got them set up to grow quite a bit. And then in 2010, they merged with another company called Advance from Oklahoma. That made them a huge player in the industry. And between that and the new management they brought in, they just took off from there. So it's not very often you see a company go from bankruptcy to IPO in 8 years, but a pretty impressive story.
That is impressive. And as we talked a little bit about the food that they make, but as you said, a lot of people don't know this name. Like, would we know any of their foods? Where can you buy them?
Possibly, but they are kind of no-name brands for the most part. Now, for one thing, a lot of their sales go to schools, like cafeterias and other institutional sales. So those, of course, they wouldn't have any brand name. But you do see them in stores. They're in Speedway, Kroger, Meijer, Walmart. I saw some in the frozen section of Big Lots the other day. So, the brand names are things like Pierre, Big AZ, Hot and Ready, things like that are fairly, so a lot of them fairly generic sounding, not well known. Yeah. One called Steak Ease, people might know that name.
Steak Ease?
E-Z-E,
okay.
Steak Ease.
Okay.
And there's a few others like that. So if you look, you'll see it either in gas stations, it'll be like either in the frozen section or in those warmers that you see, and they're in frozen sections of grocery stores as well.
Great.
So if you look, you'll see them.
Well, they're doing well for the local economy, so we like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of jobs. They employ 4,000, and they might grow from there. So it's a big deal for the economy.
All right, interesting story, Steve. Thanks so much
you.
for being here.